odd, this conference, in many ways. Probably the primary way, though, is that the mood is not as dark as people would expect after the drubbing. That
hearing whooping
you
over
can
there.
hear those noises, people whooping down there. Given the drubbing that the voters delivered to the Conservative Party, this is attributed by an awful lot of people to the fact that Labour have got off to a shaky start in government, but also some Tory MPs talk about when you've had this sort of guillotine moment hovering over you for best part of 2 years or something, to have it actually behind you is a relief. They feel liberated that they can now speak freely because there's a contest going on, and the activists, of whom there are quite a number here pitching up, have this moment of power because the contest is happening. But it's not quite normal power, because they get 4 leadership contenders paraded in front of them, and then 2 of them will be snatched away by the MPs in ballots next week. So that is odd, but another odd factor of all of this is that party leader is nearly always the centre of a conference. And the current outgoing party leader, Rishi Sunak, has left the building. A brief farewell last night. He's left the postcode. And as you were mentioning just then, another leader of the recent past stepped in to fill the void in the second day of this conference.
The only former Prime Minister in town for the conference today was an unapologetic Liz Truss. She told members if she had stayed in office, the Tories would have done better in the election.
Do you think that a Tory party led by you would have done better than a Tory party led by Rishi Sunak at the last election?
Yes, I do.
You've got to tell us something that can cheer us up, because much of what you're saying is quite depressing.
Donald Trump might win.
Donald Trump might win, OK.
There we are.
Liz Truss said today's candidates for the leadership needed to be more radical.
Bloody good.
Yeah. She's still your hero.
Yes.
You're not very impressed with the MPs.
With an arrangement whereby we vote for somebody and then...
You think you were right all the time to vote for Liz Truss? They should have given her more time.
Yes, I do, definitely.
And now you're voting for Robert Jenrick.
I am, and hoping for the best, yes.
Hi. Hey everyone, good morning. Hi.
Robert Jenrick at a rally this morning. Candidates are trying to create a sense of momentum around their campaigns, hoping that MPs will want to jump aboard a promising bandwagon and vote them into the final 2 names that members will vote on next month.
Why not do some kind of deal with reform?
Look, my job is to reform the Conservative Party, not to become reform. My job is to make sure we are...
Are you a Tugan fan?
The former security minister was trailing in the last poll of MPs and needs this conference to help him vault forward. Kemi Badenoch's team insists she's the front runner with the members and deny she's combative and difficult.
People say you're quite blunt speaking privately, you know, you're brittle, can be a bit loose temper, you're temper easily. Is that unfair characterisation of you?
Can you give me an example of when that's ever happened?
It's just people telling me stuff. I mean...
Yes. Of course people will tell you stuff. People who don't want me to win the leadership are telling you these things. Okay. This is politics.
You tell me, you're the one who's asking the question.
She's been trying to quash the stories she generated, criticising the scale of maternity obligations on firms, while her team tries to head off what they're convinced is a plot by some Tory MPs to keep her name off the final ballot paper.
It's clear again and again, the Con-Home polls, all the polls, Kemi is the members' favourite, and that's why you need to make sure she gets into the members' round so the members have a proper choice. It'll be a travesty if she doesn't get through to the final 2.
What you're worried about is MPs getting up to dirty tricks and trying to keep her off the ballot paper.
Well, I think that's always the way, that's always the concern with leadership elections.
Every camp needs to focus on themselves, getting their MPs over the line, and stop worrying about what other people they think are doing, or indeed may be doing, but who on earth knows.
Sounds like you're ticking off Kemi Badenoch's team there for
I just think
making accusations.
I think it's just a waste of time, a waste of oxygen.
This is the last time that I will address you all as leader of our party.
Rishi Sunak gave a farewell address in a low-key event last night and then left town. He warned his party to stop its infighting, but habits and party ghosts may take time to disappear.
You backed Liz Truss for Prime Minister, and then you wanted Boris Johnson back. Do you reflect on your judgment then?
Hi, how are you? How are you? Good to see you.
Have you got a message for any MPs who are trying to keep you off the ballot paper?
People should vote with their hearts. Vote for who you want.
Thank you.
All 4 candidates speak on Wednesday just before the conference closes.
Well, joining me now is Jeremy Hunt, who was, of course, the Chancellor of the Exchequer until July and is now the Shadow Chancellor. Jeremy Hunt, you were, of course, also Foreign Secretary, so I want to start by asking you about what's going on in Lebanon. Are you worried? You know, UK is an ally of Israel. Are you worried that Netanyahu is dragging the UK potentially into a Middle East war?
Well, we should all worry about what is happening. Every Foreign Secretary arrives in office saying, I'm going to focus on America, on China, on the EU, and not really wanting to think about the Middle East. And then it comes up and bites you on the ankle. And I probably spent about half my time thinking about Middle East issues. And so it has this ability, it sits in this region and it sucks everyone else in. And I think we should all be very worried. Look, as far as what Israel did, I don't condemn it. I actually think that they do have a right to self-defense, and they were being attacked by Hezbollah. I haven't agreed with everything that Israel's done in Gaza, but I think on this occasion they do have that right to self-defense. But we just have to be very, very careful now.
But 1,000 people have died in the last couple of weeks.
Yes, but, you know, we have to remember that Israel is surrounded by organizations that do not recognize its right to exist. And so that creates a mentality that it's very difficult for us to understand. And, you know, I think we have to be a critical friend of Israel. We don't have to sign up everything they do, but on this occasion, I do accept that need for self-defense.
None of this is being discussed here. There's not even a debate on foreign affairs on the main stage. I mean, just to give you an example of the kind of way in which you're looking inward, the last Prime Minister, one of the last Prime Ministers, Tory Prime Ministers, Liz Truss, is saying, she says that the party would have done better under her than under Rishi Sunak. I mean, is she in denial? Is she delusional?
Well, I didn't agree with, you know, the mini-budget and, you know, in fact, with her authority, I reversed nearly all of it. So I think that is all ancient history. We're a political party. We were trounced at the election. We have to have some humility now, and we have to recognise that as the country falls out of love with Labour, which I think they're starting to do quite quickly, actually, they are not automatically going to come back to us.
Right, so you'd like to see a bit more humility from Liz Truss?
Well, I think as a party, we have to show humility in understanding that we lost the trust of the people in the electorate, in the election, and we now have to earn it back. So that
Did you see any humility from Liz Truss today?
Look, I'm not going to comment about Liz Truss. What I will say is I think you have 4 candidates who in different ways are all trying to answer that question as to how we win back that trust. But, you know... you're saying let's look to the future and not hark on about the past. But, I mean, there's plenty of people here who want to bring back Boris Johnson, not least Liz Truss, and Grant Shapps has told me the same thing. I mean, what would that say to the country about how you've sort of recognised or taken in that defeat that the country inflicted on you? I think the way that you win elections is by being better connected to voters than your opponents. And the reason that we lost is that lots of people were worried that things in the country just weren't working, you know, whether it was the NHS or the roads or whatever, and they came to see the Conservative Party as part of the problem, not part of the solution.
And Boris Johnson isn't the solution?
Well, I think that the way you win, I'm not going to answer that question directly. I'll just say this, the way you win an election is by showing that you have better solutions to the problems people face than the government in office. What I will say is that I am worried in 12 weeks into a new government, where are these solutions? I'm not hearing from Labour what they are going to do with the NHS, how they're going to grow the economy.
Right.
And I think that is the worry that people are beginning to have, is whether they actually do have a solution or whether they're just going to continue talking about their opponents.
Right, so let me ask you then, on your patch, because the current Chancellor who succeeded you said that you left her a £22 billion black hole. You told the conference here that that was a lie. Now, she told the Commons that you had overspent on the asylum system to the tune of £6.4 billion, £1.6 billion overspend on the transport budget. There wasn't enough set in reserve for the military action in Ukraine. Did she speak the truth there, or did she mislead the House?
Well, what she said was a fabrication. You don't need to take my word for it. You just read this week's Economist, Kathy, and they're saying that she will potentially have a 39 billion surplus, not a deficit, a 39 billion surplus.
But you think
to
she
play
misled
with.
the House then? If it was a fabrication?
Well, okay, look at what did the Financial Times say? They actually did a freedom of information on that 22 billion, asking what the workings were for it. And the reply
I'm
from
talking
that,
about what she said to the House.
I know. Well, of course I don't agree with it. And it was
that's
a
different from saying it was fabrication. She misled the House.
It was a fabrication, but I'm not going to get into this business of one politician calling another politician liar, because that's not my kind of politics. But what I will say is that what she said was wrong, and if you are going to earn people's trust as Chancellor, you need to base your argument on the truth, and she has not been doing that.
Jeremy Hunt, thanks very much for joining.